Today, we're exploring three seemingly ordinary U.S. nickels from the 1970s and 80s that have turned out to be extraordinary finds for sharp-eyed collectors. While many people overlook modern coinage, assuming valuable coins must be centuries old, these Jefferson nickels from 1973, 1987, and 1988 have proven that remarkable rarities can come from any era. For our seasoned collectors and those who might have pocket change from these decades, you'll want to pay close attention, because what looks like 5 cents could actually be worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. Let's start with the 1973 Jefferson nickel. At first glance, this coin appears completely unremarkable. Millions were minted, and they circulated widely throughout the United States. However, what most people don't realize is that a small number of these nickels contain a fascinating error that makes them highly sought after by collectors. The story begins at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, where most 1973 nickels were produced with no special characteristics. But a handful of these coins left the mint with a unique doubling error on the obverse, specifically affecting Jefferson's portrait and the lettering. What makes this particular nickel so special is the doubling of Jefferson's eye, ear, and hair details, along with doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." This doubling isn't subtle, it's prominent enough to be seen with the naked eye under good lighting, though a magnifying glass reveals the full extent of the error. The error occurred during the die creation process when the hub that imprints the design onto the working die was misaligned, creating this distinctive double die variety. While similar errors exist in other years, the 1973 version is particularly scarce, with estimates suggesting only a few hundred examples have been discovered in the decades since. The market value for a 1973 double die nickel varies significantly based on condition, but even circulated examples can command impressive prices. A well-worn specimen with visible doubling might fetch between $75 and $150 at auction, while uncirculated examples have sold for over $1,000. The record price for a top-grade example was set in 2019 when a PCGS MS-64 specimen sold for $2,400 at a major coin auction. What's particularly interesting is that unlike many valuable coins that were immediately recognized as rarities, these nickels circulated for years before collectors began noticing the doubling and understanding their significance. One fascinating aspect of the 1973 double die nickel is how it was discovered. Unlike many errors that are quickly identified by mint employees or sharp-eyed collectors, this variety went largely unnoticed until the early 1990s when a collector named Tom DeLaury noticed unusual doubling on a 1973 nickel in his collection. After further investigation and examination of multiple examples, the variety was confirmed and catalogued, creating a new collecting opportunity. This discovery story highlights how even in modern times, new varieties can be found in what many consider common coinage. Condition plays a crucial role in determining the value of these nickels. As mentioned, circulated examples with visible doubling can still be quite valuable, but the real money is in pristine specimens. A coin graded -58 Australian dollars, almost uncirculated, might sell for $200 to $300, while a mint state example graded MS-63 could command $400 to $600. The price jumps dramatically for gem-quality examples, with MS-65 and above specimens regularly selling for $1,000 or more. The difference between a $75 coin and a $1,000 plus coin often comes down to subtle differences in wear, luster, and contact marks that only an experienced collector or professional grading service can properly assess. What makes the 1973 double die nickel particularly appealing to collectors is its accessibility. Unlike many valuable coins that were immediately hoarded upon discovery, these circulated for years, meaning they could potentially be found in collections, old coin jars, or even in circulation today. For our viewers who collected coins as children in the 1970s or have inherited collections from that era, it's definitely worth taking a close look at any 1973 nickels you might have. The doubling is most visible on Jefferson's hair above his ear and on the letters of Liberty, so focus your attention there when examining your coins. Now, let's turn our attention to the 1987 Jefferson nickel. While the 1973 we just discussed was valuable due to a dramatic error, the 1987 nickel tells a different story of scarcity, one rooted not in mistakes, but in the simple economics of coin production and the passage of time. This coin represents a fascinating case where ordinary circumstances created extraordinary rarity. For collectors who came of age in the late 80s or inherited collections from that era, the 1987 nickel might seem utterly commonplace, but beneath that familiar surface lies a surprising tale of supply and demand that has propelled certain examples into the realm of serious numismatic value. The story of the 1987 nickel begins with the shifting needs of the U.S. economy. By the mid-1980s, the demand for new nickels had significantly decreased compared to previous decades. The U.S. Mint, responding to this lower demand and seeking cost efficiencies, drastically reduced production numbers. In 1987, the Philadelphia Mint struck just over 371 million nickels, while the Denver Mint produced a mere 37 million. That Denver mintage figure is the key. It's the lowest production run for any Jefferson nickel since the end of World War II. To put that in perspective, it's less than a tenth of Philadelphia's output that year and a fraction of the hundreds of millions typically minted annually. This wasn't due to any special event or commemorative program, it was simply a reflection of the mint meeting the actual circulation needs of the time. What makes the 1987 D nickel particularly rare and valuable isn't a dramatic error or unique design element, but its sheer scarcity in high grades. Because so few were made, and because nickels generally see heavy circulation, finding a pristine, uncirculated 1987 D is akin to finding a needle in a haystack. The key identifying feature collectors look for is, of course, the D mint mark located on the reverse, just below Monticello, indicating its Denver origin. While the coin itself looks identical to any other Jefferson nickel of the era, its low mintage number makes it a standout. Collectors specifically hunt for examples that have never entered circulation, preserved in mint state condition since the day they left the Denver facility. The survival rate of these coins in gem uncirculated condition is incredibly low, as most were either spent, damaged, or lost over the past 35+ years. The market value for the 1987 D nickel reflects this scarcity. Circulated examples, even in excellent condition, are generally worth only face value or a small premium, perhaps 10 to 25 cents, because millions did indeed enter circulation and are readily available. However, the value skyrockets for uncirculated specimens. A typical uncirculated 1987 D nickel, graded MS 63 by a major service like PCGS or NGC, might fetch between $15 and $30. The real action begins at the MS 65 level, where prices jump to $75 to $150. In gem MS 66 condition, these nickels routinely sell for $250 to $400. The auction record for a 1987 D nickel was set in 2021 when a spectacular PCGS MS 67 example realized an astounding $1,440 at a Heritage Auctions event. That price underscores just how exceptionally rare top-tier examples are. Only a handful have ever been graded that high by PCGS. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1987 D nickel story is how long it took for its rarity to be fully recognized by the collecting community. For years after its release, it was largely overlooked. Collectors focused on older coins, commemoratives, or dramatic errors. The low mintage was noted in numismatic publications, but without a compelling visual difference like a double die or off-center strike, it didn't capture immediate attention. It wasn't until the late 1990s and early 2000s, as the hobby matured and collectors began systematically assembling modern date sets in high grades, that the true scarcity of the 1987 D became apparent. Suddenly, finding nice uncirculated examples proved incredibly difficult, and prices began their steady climb. This delayed recognition is a fascinating lesson in numismatic economics. Sometimes the most valuable modern coins are the ones hiding in plain sight, waiting for the market to catch up. Condition is absolutely paramount when it comes to the 1987 D nickel. As mentioned, circulated examples hold little value. The difference between a $20 coin and a $400 coin often comes down to minute details discernible only under magnification and expert grading. A coin graded MS-63 will show numerous small bag marks, nicks and scratches acquired during minting and handling, and may lack full luster. An MS-65 example will have far fewer marks, better overall eye appeal, and strong, original mint luster. The elusive MS-67 coins are virtually flawless, with pristine surfaces, full cartwheel luster, the way light spins off the coin when tilted, and absolutely no distracting imperfections. Even a single, tiny contact mark can knock a potential MS-67 down to an MS-66, significantly impacting its value. This is why professional grading is so crucial for these coins. The subtle differences between grades translate directly into substantial price differences. For anyone who might have saved original mint sets or rolls from 1987, carefully examining the Denver nickel could yield a pleasant surprise. Finding one preserved in gem condition isn't just about luck, it's about recognizing a coin that, while common in circulated grades, becomes a significant modern rarity when it survives the decades untouched. Now we arrive at our final coin, the 1988 Jefferson nickel, and this one presents a fascinating contrast to the previous two. While the 1973 was defined by a dramatic error and the 1987 by sheer scarcity of mintage, the 1988 nickel tells a story of perfection, a tale where the pursuit of absolute quality transforms an otherwise common coin into a highly coveted prize. This isn't about a mistake or a low number. It's about the near-impossible survival of a coin struck with such precision and preserved with such care that it reveals details lost on virtually every other example. For collectors who appreciate the artistry of minting and the challenge of finding the absolute best, the 1988 nickel in its ultimate form represents a modern numismatic grail. The historical context for the 1988 nickel is, on the surface, utterly mundane. Production was robust, with the Philadelphia Mint striking over 560 million nickels and the Denver Mint producing over 571 million. These figures dwarf the 1987 mintage and place the 1988 firmly in the realm of common, everyday coinage. There were no special events, no design changes, no reported major errors. Nickels poured out of the mints, entered circulation, and performed their duty as 5-cent pieces across the nation. So, how does such a massively produced coin become valuable? The answer lies in a specific, demanding condition designation known as full steps, FS, and the 1988 nickel, particularly from the Philadelphia Mint, has proven to be one of the most challenging dates to find in this elite state. What makes the 1988 nickel so special is the quest for full steps on the reverse, specifically on the depiction of Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's iconic home. The design features a detailed facade, including a set of steps leading up to the portico. For a nickel to earn the coveted full steps designation, all 6 of these steps must be clearly defined, distinct, and unbroken. They must appear as separate, raised lines without any merging, softness, or weakness at the points where they meet the vertical lines of the building. Achieving this requires a perfect confluence of factors: a fresh, unworn die, optimal striking pressure, precise planchet preparation, and, crucially, absolutely no post-minting damage or wear. The steps are among the highest relief points on the reverse, making them incredibly susceptible to even the slightest handling, bag marks, or friction. On the vast majority of 1988 nickels, these steps are flattened, merged, or simply indistinct. Finding one where all 6 steps stand out in sharp relief is exceptionally rare. The key identifying feature for a valuable 1988 nickel isn't a mint mark or an error, but the pristine quality of the Monticello steps. Collectors examine the reverse under magnification and good lighting, specifically looking at the area just below the columns. The steps should be fully separated from the bottom line of the building and from each other. Any blurring, rounding, or connecting of the steps disqualifies the coin from the FS designation. While both Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, mint mark, nickels can be found with full steps, the Philadelphia examples are generally considered scarcer and more valuable in top FS grades. The rarity stems from the combination of the mint's production realities, dies wore quickly, nickels were handled in bulk causing contact marks, and the sheer difficulty of preserving such a delicate feature flawlessly for over 3 decades. The market value for the 1988 nickel is a stark lesson in condition-based rarity. A typical circulated 1988 nickel is worth exactly 5 cents. Even a nice uncirculated example, graded MS-63 or MS-64, might only command $1 to $5 because millions were saved in mint sets or rolls. However, the moment full steps enter the equation, the value escalates dramatically. A 1988 P nickel graded MS-65 with full steps, designated MS-65FS, can easily sell for $300 to $500. The premium intensifies exponentially with higher grades. An MS-66FS example might fetch $750 to $1,200, while a gem MS-67FS coin is a true rarity, often selling for $2,000 to $3,500 or more when they appear at auction. The current auction record for a 1988 P nickel was set in 2020 when a PCGS MS-67FS example realized an astonishing $4,320. This price, for a coin minted over 800 million times, underscores the incredible power of perfection in the modern coin market. For Denver examples, the values are slightly lower but still impressive, with MS-67FS specimens reaching $1,500 to $2,500. One of the most compelling stories surrounding the 1988 full steps nickel is the evolution of the full steps collecting niche itself. For decades, Jefferson nickel collectors focused primarily on mint marks and major varieties. The significance of fully defined steps was recognized by a few specialists but wasn't widely embraced as a key value driver until the late 1990s and early 2000s. Pioneering collectors and researchers, notably Leroy Van Allen, of VAM fame for Morgan dollars, began systematically documenting and promoting the importance of full steps. They argued that a fully struck Monticello was the true measure of a Jefferson nickel's quality. This movement gained momentum as third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC began offering the FS designation, providing standardized authentication. The 1988 P quickly emerged as one of the tough dates in this new collecting frontier. Stories abound of dedicated collectors searching through thousands of original mint sets and bank rolls, finding maybe 1 or 2 true FS examples after months of effort. This hunt transformed the perception of the 1988 nickel from common pocket change to a challenging and rewarding pursuit for the discerning collector. Condition variations are absolutely paramount for the 1988 nickel, far more so than for the 1973 or 1987 D. As established, circulated examples have negligible value. Even uncirculated examples without full steps are relatively inexpensive. The entire value proposition hinges on the presence and quality of the full steps. Grading services use a strict scale. FS, full steps, requires all 6 steps to be complete and distinct. 5 FS, 5 full steps, is a lesser designation, still valuable but significantly less so than full FS. The difference between an MS-65, no FS designation, worth maybe $10 and an MS-65FS worth $400 plus comes down entirely to those tiny steps. Furthermore, the quality of the steps matters. Are they razor sharp? Is there any dye flow or softness? Are the surfaces otherwise pristine? A single, minuscule tick or contact mark on the steps can knock a potential FS coin out of contention. This is why professional grading is essential. The distinction is often microscopic. For anyone who saved original 1988 mint sets or uncirculated rolls, carefully examining the Monticello steps under strong magnification, 5x, 10x, is crucial. Holding the coin at an angle to catch the light can help reveal the step definition. Finding a true full steps 1988 P nickel isn't just about luck. It's about recognizing a coin that achieved near perfection during striking and then miraculously avoided any damage for over 35 years, making it a standout treasure in the world of modern numismatics.